So if our bodies are made of mainly of viruses, bacteria, mycobacteria, fungi, and parasites more than our own cells, why do we say sometimes we get infections? Or why, for example, when we have a wound, does it get infected? Well, I could say that there are very, very few situations in which the microorganism is the cause of an inflammatory process. And it could be one of these when we have an open wound where a certain microorganism enters a tissue where it doesn't belong. What do I mean? Viruses in the body have a unique environment and they live in very unique tissues of the body, which is very well studied. Tissues that come from ectoderm, from embryology. Now, bacteria live in other kinds of tissues in the body. That's their natural environment, and we live in symbiosis like this. Also, mycobacteria and fungi have other organs and other tissues where they live in total harmony. But if any of these microorganisms change to a place where they don't belong, then it can really create an imbalance in the microbiome there, create inflammatory processes, which will give us symptoms. And sometimes in those situations, we need a certain treatment, even medically. So that's why it's so helpful when we have a wound to clean, disinfect the wound. That doesn't mean there will be no microorganisms there, because the microorganisms always help in repairing processes of different tissues of the body. But what we're doing there when we clean the wound, we take out the microorganisms that don't belong in that area. Okay? Now, there are other causes that can provoke inflammation that is also mediated by microorganisms, which is when our microbiome, our internal flora or fauna, as I like to call it, has a big imbalance because we have used a lot of antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals, or we eat a lot of products that are full of pesticides and other chemicals. In that case, if our microbiome is out of balance, either in our gut, which is the main first defense of our body, or in our skin or wherever, if it's out of balance and we have contact or we receive a new kind of microorganism, this microorganism might take over a lot of space because there is not a harmonious variety of the natural microorganisms that live there. So it takes over the place and it creates this imbalance, which can have inflammation and all kinds of symptoms. That's why it's so important to nourish our microbiome through probiotics, fermented food, and mainly by having contact with nature. That's our main source, by breathing, touching, through our mouth, through our skin, to receive all this variety of microorganisms. Now, the last thing, but the most important of all, is that the main role of these microorganisms is not to create inflammation, but to help us in repairing processes of different tissues of the body. This is explained in all detail in the fourth biological law. And when we go in depth into the 5 biological laws, we know how each one of these microorganisms have a different purpose and a different function to help us either repel and repair and rebuild a certain tissue, or to cleanse, remove, and detoxify elements from tissues that have been under a lot of stress. That is, I could say, 95% of the situations when we have inflammation in the body and there is presence of microorganisms, they are either helping rebuild or they are helping remove tissue and cleanse the tissues there. That's why our body is full of these microorganisms, because they are a vital part of our biology, a vital part of our physiology and all our healing processes. So I hope this is useful. I hope it gives you some clarity from all the misinformation and crazy information that's going around. If you're more interested, you're welcome to join any body medicine course or learn the 5 biological laws. Have a beautiful day.